But our new minister from Somalia arrived at the young age of 16 years old as a refugee. And today he's our Minister of Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship. Congratulations. Now, he immigrated in 1993, so you can tell he's still a very young man. So I'm going to continue to chat and counsel him in my senior years. But he immigrated to Toronto at Regent Park. And I don't know if you know a lot about Regent Park, but it's an area that was built, if you want, in the early mid-40s. And we found many people there had some challenges, financial challenges, needing financial support in many ways. And our minister, as a young boy at 16, arrived there. And only 9 years later, he started to contribute directly to the success of rebuilding this area, which was isolated in downtown Toronto, if you can imagine. And he co-founded with another colleague the Regent Park Council, which focused on rebuilding, revitalizing this community that had many, many challenges. And as you can imagine, it is not something easy. It's easy to build to change the facelift or the area, but it's not easy to change the culture. And that's the challenge that many people have. But he and his colleague was able to secure $500 million for that revitalization project, which was extremely successful. He also was national president of the Canadian Somali Congress, which is an organization that works to advocate on behalf of, in support of, their community, which he has done extremely well for many years. As a result of a driven reputation, he's received an invitation to join the task force for modernizing income security for adults in Toronto City Summit Alliance. A lawyer, 16 years old refugee, a lawyer from the University of Ottawa with a proven track record in leadership and in community empowerment. In 2004, the Toronto Star, which is a very big paper, influential paper. By God, I got on it a couple of months ago. So you got to do something right or wrong to get on there. But he was recognized for being one of 10 individuals in Toronto to have made a substantial contribution to his community. What we have in front of us is a young minister, a caring, understanding gentleman who is very focused on Canada, focused on communities, focused on making life better. And I and my colleague, Darren Fisher, are extremely happy to work closely with our minister. And I also want to recognize our senator here, Wanda Bernard, newly appointed senator. Thank you. And Minister, could you please come up and say a few words?
Meeting African and Nova Scotian blacks in a round table yesterday and listening directly from them on some of the challenges that history has had and some of the positive outcomes that are being implemented by this province as they move forward on the inquiry, for example. And then coming here today to get this tour So much history, so much to celebrate and to remember, and to also find time for healing. I'm lost for words in that sense. An example is the No. 2 Construction Battalion. I learned about the history of that last year during Black History Month, and prior to that by meeting one of the daughters of a member of that battalion in Toronto, and having then that developing into an event in my riding, and then having Canada Post unveil a stamp to celebrate and recognize the No. 2 Construction Battalion in Ottawa for last year's Black History Month. And it's really poignant for me to be here today in a year where our country is celebrating Canada's 150th birthday, to come here and see firsthand the history and the contributions of African and Black Nova Scotians to the really rich fabric of Canada. So when you look forward in that sense, you also have to look backward and look at the contributions of Nova Scotians, Black Nova Scotians, in the fight for equality and civil rights in Canada. And it's quite fitting that this is the time when we've, as a nation, recognized finally on a national level Viola Desmond's contribution to that fight by putting her on our $10 note. I think that's quite the recognition, and I think that it speaks volumes about the contributions of Black Nova Scotians to the fabric of Canada. And as we move forward, we also have to recognize that the fight and the struggle for equality has not ended. It is an ongoing process, and we continue to believe that as a nation we can continue to do better. And one of the ways you do that is to recognize, to look back and recognize and give full recognition to the contributions of those who have made Canada what it is today. And that recognition will be incomplete without taking into stock and giving full recognition to the contributions of Black Nova Scotians and African Canadians in Nova Scotia. And so, as I stand here before you today, I want to tell you that in my journey in Canada, when I first came as a 16-year-old refugee, I went through that settlement and integration struggle that every newcomer faces in Canada. And having gone through that, I have to say two things about that. One is the vital importance of those settlement services to newcomers, not only in the rest of Canada, but also in Nova Scotia, and how vital those services are to integrating newcomers into our society. But the second reason I mentioned those services is because I felt once I used those community services, because it's not just government services that got me here, that I felt it really important to preserve those services for the next group and to expand them for the next generation. And it's why I ran for office, because I felt that those services were being eroded and being undermined, and that I had to take a stand and make sure that I did my part to make sure that we preserve those settlement and integration services and those really, really precious community services for the next generation. Because without that, we can't ensure that the next generation succeeds. And so as we move forward with policies, as we move forward with initiatives and announcements, I will be informed by those experiences. And I will be informed by the tour that I got here today and the meetings that I've had last night with members of the community, to make sure that as we move forward on Canada 150, and I've said this in Parliament, and I've said this within my caucus, and I'll continue to speak about this, that as a country, as we celebrate Canada 150, we have to make sure that there is a prominent role in that celebration for Black and African Canadian community in that country. Finally, I can promise you that just like any other member of Cabinet and Parliament, I bring my experiences to this job, and I'll be informed by those experiences to make sure that we have an immigration, refugee, and citizenship system that is humane, that is open, that is compassionate, and that also looks out for the best interests of Canadians as we move forward to make sure that our immigration system is not only open and compassionate, but also works very hard to make sure that we use immigration and continue to harness the power of immigrants to contribute to our economic success. Thank you very much.
Okay. Hi, ladies. Can you tell me how you felt about today? How did you feel about the new minister?
Well, he is very, he sounds very hopeful, you know, for immigrants and new Canadians. I think it sounds like he has some good ideas, and I think we're very hopeful.
How exciting is it to see this new minister?
It's very exciting, and I think it's very inspiring, and it gives us as immigrants hope that we do have a future in Canada.
Oh, I think it's nice to have him, come and, visit, and, it's nice. It's interesting, and to show that he takes an interest to come and visit the people in the constituencies, very nice.
It's very significant and very important in this day and age where we're trying to encourage our African Nova Scotians to strive for excellence, and this minister showed that what he struggled through, that anybody can do anything. So it's going to be a good affirmation for African Nova Scotian youth to see how a refugee can elevate to an MP. So it's very important.
Well, for one thing, I'm so glad that we're being recognized, because each of us has a lot to contribute, and especially the black population in Nova Scotia has such an interesting evolution. All the people who came here at different stages, and we of the Jamaican Cultural Association feel that we have a voice, and we connect. Particularly, there's so much information about the Maroons who came here, but also the various great groups of people who migrated to Nova Scotia. And at the moment we're researching some of this to find out more about all the different ones who have come, and then the present generation who are here, the young kids, to show them that you belong to Nova Scotia and we're part of the history, and we're proud to be numbered among them. It was a wonderful thing to speak to the minister, because it's time we get some kind of recognition. We're here and we're not leaving.
To see the minister come here along with the newly appointed senator is very empowering for this community, especially on the heels of African Heritage Month in this space that celebrates African Nova Scotian history. And so it just brings the community all together, but also not just the community, all of Canada. And so that communication is great. And also, it's not just about African Nova Scotians, but it's about all African people of the diaspora, particularly him being from Somalia. So it was a great event, and I'm glad to be here.
Well, I hope and trust that him by being here today and talk about he's going to come back again to tour the black community would be a great thing for us. Because being here, well, I think that being, especially with North Preston being the largest black indigenous community in Canada, it will be a great thing for us, because we need an uplift. That way we won't continue to feel that we are the forgotten people, because we don't have nothing. We don't even have a store in our community. Everything we have to get for ourselves, we have to leave our community, come all the way to the road about 2 or 3 miles to get a can of milk or a loaf of bread. And then we have to go to Sobeys or another little white store on the side of the road. And it's about time that some black people become independent. The government wake up and smell the roses and put some affordable homes in the community and build the community up, because we have no ways of building it up ourselves due to the fact years ago our ancestors had no education, no decent jobs. And today, we're lucky that we're able to help our kids and do things for our kids today ourselves. But it's still a rough uphill going due to the fact it's a shortage of money. Because a couple construction, we have people in the workforce not make enough money to help build the community themselves. And the government should move in and take a step and make a difference in our community as a people.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.